Welcome to For the Purpose Of, the podcast where we navigate the intersection of technology and the world of education. I'm Ron Houtman.
And I'm Sarah Wood.
And I'm Keith Tramper. And starting out season 3 today, we'll be talking about predictions we made back in 2022, going way back to one of our first episodes.
Season 3?
Yeah, can you believe it?
3 years?
Yeah.
We made it, guys. 3 years.
Gosh.
So once we take a look at those predictions and kind of react to that, we'll take a look at what we predict could happen this school year.
I say giant asteroid.
Don't look up.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that movie. That was a weird movie. Oh, my gosh. I got to watch that again. That was just so tinfoil hat. It's not even funny. Sarah, you don't remember that movie?
What movie was that? What are you talking about?
Don't look up.
No.
Yeah, it had DiCaprio and who else is it? Jennifer.
I don't know.
Jennifer,
there's a lot
somebody?
of people in it.
Yeah, it was like a lot. Holy smokes, famous cast kind of people. But yeah,
Okay.
it's all about how dysfunctional a government can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's very poignant at the time.
Yeah.
Probably still is now.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to start off with our usual little intro question. Get some conversation going here. So I'm going to throw one out for you guys. Are you ready?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What's a dream destination you haven't been to, and what specific experiences would you like to have there? I'll go first while you're mulling that over. Okay. I 100% would say Scotland.
Scotland? You gotta say it the right way. Scotland.
I am Outlander obsessed, so I would want to go there. And do the whole, they have like tours where you visit all the sites from the movie and that. But the one thing I do like about that though is a lot of it's rooted in actual history. And so there's a lot of history of the Scottish Highlands and the, how they came to be, where they are now, and the history of the land and the people. I just think it'd be fascinating. Go visit some castles.
Yeah.
Not that I could ever live in that time, but it always makes me think of, there was this video series, I can't remember what Broadway production was doing it, but they would do like, if Henry VIII were alive today, what would he be totally like not understanding? And so then they go through these
showers,
different things. I know. And it's like things like that modern day. So like for me, it's like, I'm so used to these. I'd love to go back and see the actual history and then be like, explain, do you know what a shower is?
You know about indoor plumbing?
Electricity.
Do you think you could explain Bitcoin?
Yeah, Bitcoin. I mean, that would give
it's money, but it's not really money.
Erasable pens.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yep. Cool.
All right, Keith, where do you want to go?
I'm debating. I'm still stuck between New Zealand and Australia. I've just, for whatever reason, I've always been drawn to that part of the world. Aside from their like nightmare creatures that they have out that way, like the giant spiders and like the man-sized bats. They're so weird.
Do you remember hearing about drop bears?
Drop bears?
Yeah. They're bears that drop out of trees onto you. Look up drop bears. Yep.
Huh. Is it like a koala? Because I could handle that.
Kind of like that, but they're a little bit more bitey.
Oh, nope.
Yeah, it's a drop bear.
Interesting.
Oh.
It says folklore.
It's true, just like everything else on the internet. So mine is, I really want to go to, in Japan, I want to go to Akihabara. Ooh. And it's like the largest set of nerdy electronics places. It's just all electronics, just stuff. So it goes from, your regular gaming kind of stuff to motherboards to phone fixes and pieces and parts and components and radio stuff. It's just everything. It's just a huge electronics bazaar. So that's what I want to do. I want to go to Japan. So someday.
Is that like the Shipshawana electronics?
It's yeah, but
that's what I took away from that.
Yeah, a whole lot, probably a little bit better of environment, less horse poop.
Oh, okay. Sounds cool then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a trip all the way back to January of 2022.
Oh, do we have to make this sound like Garth and whatever?
All right. So back in that time, we were making predictions as we were starting to kind of come out of that COVID era we were in, starting to kind of get into I think the word new normal was thrown around a lot at that point. And we were just kind of predicting, what do we think is going to happen? So I'm just going to kind of recap here, and then Ron, I'm going to say yours first, and then if you want, you can just respond to it and say what you think. So Ron, you were predicting the death of the PD conference, that educators might see more value in virtual learning and begin to find new ways to meet. Oh, and conferences would begin to try to find new ways to meet that LobbyCon experience that you get at a face-to-face conference.
Yep. So I would say on this one, I think I'm about 50% right. I think conferences have sort of come back a little bit in small parts, but they're usually the ones that all of us have gone to or presented at lately, which are beginning of the year kickoff sort of conferences for education. When I look at the larger market out there, to me, one of the bigger indicators of the reason I think that a lot of conferencey sort of things will disappear, all I have to do is look at technology events like what Apple does now, where almost everything's pre-recorded. And a lot of big tech companies, everything's pre-recorded because they can control the messaging a whole lot better, and they can control the experience a lot better. And I think it'll continue to bleed over to education, because most of our educators, I think the ones that I have talked to, maybe you guys too, and maybe those of our listeners, they demand a lot of more flexibility. They don't want things that are time and place bound. And, learning on demand is kind of that thing that they want. And they also want to be compensated for it. I don't know if either of you have attempted to locate a hotel room in the last 2 years, but oh my gosh, are the prices crazy. And especially thinking about going out to eat someplace if you're at a conference location. I mean, just normal around Grand Rapids, you go someplace and get a single sandwich and you're like, $16 for something. That's just, it's spendy. You look at gas prices. So I think economics is going to fall into this a little bit too, where if the options are out there for folks to do remote stuff and that experience is, even a 75% experience, I think that's where we're going to go. So that's what I'm thinking. What do you think, Keith? What's your, I'm trying to remember what your prediction was. Something about subs, maybe?
Yeah, I think at the time we were talking about, there was a significant sub shortage. Some schools were struggling just to keep teachers healthy. And I was kind of predicting that we were going to start to have to look. We were going to be forced to look at shifting our education systems. And I'm with you. I'm probably about 50% correct on that too. I think we've seen little changes. We haven't seen a whole system overhaul, but we've seen a lot of districts start doing the grow their own programs, some regionally and locally. There's been more pushes around the state that we've noticed of getting people that are not certified, or people that were previously certified back into the teaching profession. So we're seeing that for sure. We're still struggling, though, I think, with keeping people in classrooms and even in admin and leadership roles. So I don't know. I'm still hopeful. I think there's some shifts in professional learning, like Ron just alluded to as well, that have come out of that era that we were in. So yeah.
I think sometimes they say, you have to hit like rock bottom before you actually see the change. And I'm like, how much more rock bottom can we get before we're actually seeing that change?
Another indicator outside that too, Keith, is just if you look at education programs across the state of Michigan and schools, if we look at the teacher ed programs at U of M, Michigan State, even locally here, Calvin, Cornerstone, they've all seen precipitous drops in the amount of candidates that they're getting coming through teacher schools. So almost everybody now across the state is looking at alternative entry programs. But the three of us and all of our listeners know it takes a pretty special person to be able to go into education and have some longevity. There's a lot of folks that'll come out of business industry and go, yeah, that's what I want to do. But I don't know if they really, a lot of times they go, I went to school, I know how to do this. It's like, yeah, it's a whole different animal. And I think too, that, when you think about the amount of money that has been going into, I guess we basically call them behavioral coaches, just because over the pandemic period, talking to lots of our friends out there, we're seeing some interesting behaviors from our kids too, which many new entrants into education without a really solid background in classroom management, they're going to struggle mightily, and hopefully they decide to stick it out. But I know many of them, it's just, not worth the hassle. So we'll see what happens.
All right. And then Sarah, let's go back to yours. Your prediction was, I wrote down the quote: inventions are born from necessity. You were expecting new ideas to come forward to meet the needs of students. And you were also predicting that most of those ideas were not going to come from educators, but they were going to come from students or people outside the education industry.
I stand by that quote. That was a solid quote. Not that I had anything to do with it, but I kind of hit the mark when it came for new things coming out. ChatGPT in November. Didn't see that coming. Not that came from students, but it did come from people outside the education system, and it's having big impacts on the education system these days and changing thinking around teaching and student learning. And I think that's only going to change rapidly moving forward too, just with those advancements that have been made even in the past year. And once people are more familiar and more comfortable with it, I think it's going to take off, and we're going to see so many new things.
I think, the other thing when you say that, Sarah, too, I think about so many new things. The so many new things part is going to be baked into all these products that we use. Google's already doing that with, Google Docs and email. Help me write. I mean, it's built in. You're going to see this in all kinds of stuff. So I still love, when we first talked about this in some of our other groups about, ChatGPT, everybody was out there playing whack-a-mole, right? Let's block this thing because they might cheat on this thing. Pretty soon, there's no whack-a-mole involved. It's like, it's part of the thing. So you're going to have to go back to, notebooks and pens, maybe?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, ChatGPT was kind of its own thing, and now it's just getting absorbed into so many places. Yeah, it's going to be hard to play whack-a-mole. So, all right. Well, yeah, we're sort of getting into the topic that we're going to be heading into next. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then Ron will kick us off with that next step.
But first, this commercial message.
New varieties of Oreos keep popping up, and I hear they've made an artificially intelligent Oreo. It's one smart cookie. No jokes about it. AI has been here for a while and will continue to grow and evolve. It is important that educators are aware of what it is, and it's so much more than just ChatGPT, and how it can be leveraged as a teaching and learning tool. Register today for EdTech Cheer 2023, which will take place in the first 2 weeks of December, where you can engage in micro-learning where the focus will be on topics surrounding the world of artificial intelligence. Claim your spot today for free at bit.ly/etc23-register and earn up to 6 sketch credits. This commercial was written by Human for Humans. Join me in embracing the world of AI. And yes, no AI bots were used in crafting this commercial.
As always, we are so thankful for our Podcast PDX community. This episode's Podcast PDX question is, what are your predictions for the 2023-24 school year? Let us know and join the community at bit.ly/FTPO-PDX.
So as with last year, we're going to make this a ongoing thing, I think. So we're going to talk our predictions for the 2023-24 school year. So we would like you also, if you have any predictions, we'd love to have you comment to us via our email address, edtech@kentisd.org. We'd love to hear your prediction. And if we like it, we'll host it in the show next time, because I think we should have some good feedback from you all about this, especially those of you that listening, and actually do this education thing as your job, kind of like us. We'd love to hear from you. So our predictions for this year, let's see. Sarah, let's start out with you. What you think is going to happen if you could get your crystal ball out.
Okay. Like I said, I stand by my quote. I'm going to do Inventions Are Born of Necessity 2.0. So, very succinct there.
I like it.
I think, and maybe this is kind of what you were saying too, though, Ron, I think there's going to be a continued desire from educators for asynchronous PD, but not just asynchronous PD, but different PD because it's asynchronous, where, I mean, we've been through it enough now. We don't want to sit through Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. There's a time and a place for that, don't get me wrong. But if that's all it is over and over, that gets old quick. So I think that's going to be kind of a challenge for us or those who are in similar roles to having to rethink, how do we provide quality asynchronous professional learning that's different, and then that could have impacts down there on modeling teaching strategies and things for students. So I think about that, and another thing that I always come back to because of conversations right now is as it surrounds AI. And I was just talking with some other EdTechs around the state this week about this and the impacts of AI and how there are still a lot of people who've heard of, if you say Chat GPT, yes, they'll raise their hand. I've heard of it. How many people have actually used it? Their hand goes down that they haven't actually used it. And sometimes AI is equated to be Chat GPT, and it's not the same. And I think it's going to kind of challenge educators to think a little bit differently about their teaching and student learning model that they're currently using, and kind of move towards some of those PBL focused type learning styles, because we have to get beyond those Googleable answers, those, we say Googleable, but now it will be like Chat GPTable kinds of
search engineable
engineable type of assignments and projects and things like that, and equate and bring that AI into the learning process and show best practices, and not just this will do your assignment. And if you use it to do your assignment, can you actually explain how you got to that ending point kind of thing? So I think there's going to be that little bit of a wake up call for a lot of us, ourselves included.
And it's not just a challenge too. Like there's opportunity there to leverage that too, right? Like, yes, we don't want them to be able to Google their answers like in the past or Chat GPT their answers now. But as a teacher, can you take AI and customize assignments, right? I was asking Chat GPT the other day, like, give me a lesson on the quadratic formula. Okay, now give me that same lesson for a student who's interested in skateboarding. Cool. And it will generate, different examples for you to kind of help you customize and personalize it more for students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious, Keith, what are your thoughts for this coming year?
Yeah. Well, I share your same thoughts around AI. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to grow quick. I think, we talk a lot about technology in general having an exponential curve upwards, that it adopts quick and moves even quicker. It's hard to keep up with, but just based on the adoption of AI in so many things, it feels like that exponential curve is even more pronounced, that it's going to be adopted even more quicker than what we consider technology in general.
Kind of like the hockey stick hype cycle.
Yeah.
It's like a hockey stick, right?
Yeah.
Starts out in November, December, and all of a sudden goes straight up to the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until we hit the top of this where everybody's like, it's everywhere. It's in everything. So let's figure out how to use this a different way, right?
Yep.
And then something new comes and that hype cycle starts all over again.
For sure. The other, I've got my eyes on two other things that are happening a little more in our state. The first is with computer science. The state passed a bill for $4 million for Michigan districts to get computer science or computational thinking professional learning in their schools, which is significant, and especially when you look at it, it's for districts in particular that can utilize this money to do like coaching. Maybe you get a computer science coach that works with UK-12, or you engage in a learning series. Like I know CT for EDU has lots of different resources, and I imagine they're going to be tapped a lot with this kind of funding. But we're seeing that CT end of things, which is a really good foundational piece for elementary teachers or general education teachers to build like that foundation for computer science later on without having to know a ton about computer science. So it's a really approachable thing. So we're already seeing CT for EDU comes out of MSU. We talked to Aman Yadav, who is heading that up in one of our previous episodes, a long while back now. But there's other programs coming out of MDE, and there's a computational thinking in the UP. So CT for the UP is also coming out. So I just, I'm excited for that funding to really push computer science forward. I think it's something that is needed. I'm excited for the possibilities that come out of that.
Definitely. Anytime there's money being dumped into something, something will happen around it. So that's what we see always in education is, the money drives a lot of the stuff, because without resources, you really can't do anything. You can't just hope for things to happen. You have to actually fund them in some way, shape, or form. So,
well, and I love that with the CT making a bigger presence too, because that is such a huge entry point for teachers who want to do more with computer science but aren't ready to go full on in, because I think CT is so applicable across the curriculum too.
Yep.
All right. So I'm thinking this may end up being a Ron rant here. We'll just see how it goes.
Buckle up, everyone. Yes. Buckle up. I'm ready for it.
So I have noticed in the last 5 or 6 months now, we'll go back to hype cycle. Every EdTech, I don't know. Do we call these people EdTech influencers now? I guess maybe that's what some of them think creators. They are, or they want to be, or whatever. Is that every single one of them's jumping on the AI bandwagon, man. It's like just everybody's got a session. Everybody's talking about it. And I still think many of the things that they're showing while I've watched a lot of these are really, I call them AI parlor tricks. Basically, look what I can do. So yeah, I get it, but it's a whole lot deeper of a subject than just that, right? So what you can do with it. I think there's a lot deeper implication stuff that we in education have not really gotten to yet. I think probably one of the things that'll come out of this, again, as a good prediction would be just thinking about how many of our schools use Google, just as an example. Google has a product called Notebook, which is in beta or alpha. It allows you give it permission to go look through your entire Google Drive as a end user and to analyze all of your writing. So that's what it's used for, its model to learn from. It uses the ChatGPT side of things, the computational side, where it knows how to add or assign a number frequency to every single word based on how it's learned. But then you can ask questions against your own data. So you would ask a questions like, maybe you've taken notes, for 6 months on something. You say, can you create an outline of all the things around this particular topic and just create me notes based on my own writing? So I think you're going to see more and more of that AI stuff go into organizational learning to be able to take your own writing. Or a really good example of this would be if you've got a school district, let's just say that you've put in every single one of your policies, all of your procedures that you have. And instead of you as an employee trying to go search for stuff, looking through your board policies, you have just a chat bot where you can say, hey, for Kent ISD, what is the policy on this? And you get an answer that's definitive and it's based on your data versus what it may have vacuumed off the internet. So I think that's the next kind of step in this is how do we make these things to be useful assistants versus just things that are writing stuff for us or whatever. So it'd be really interesting to kind of see where that's going to go. So that's what I'm thinking. So AI hype cycle, everybody's got a book right now. Gosh, go to look at Amazon and just go look under education books, type in AI and education books. You'll see about 30 of them in there. And a lot of them are self-published books, but if you dive deeper into them, you'll see that if you look at the preview on them, they're just garbage. I mean, they're AI generated books.
AI writing about AI.
It is. It's just terrible.
Which is fascinating for me because even from the time they start writing it to the time, even if they self-publish, so much has already changed in that time span because it's just so rapidly evolving.
Do you remember when we used to have books on just like Windows, like your
Yes.
Windows 3.1 for dummies.
Quality right there.
You don't need those books anymore. I don't think we need AI books either in education, because I can find everything I need just by, using the internet for that. So it's interesting. Yeah. I think there's going to be, we're still in this hype cycle about this. I think, everybody's just trying to get their, again, ranty, everybody's just trying to get their name out there. And I think it helps them lead them to go do conferences and places, but that's just me. I'd rather help people locally than try to go get my all expense paid trip, a rubber chicken meal someplace, whatever it might be. I think the other one that I'm just thinking is, this is another localish sort of thing. So the state of Michigan has announced that they want to create a new Department of Education called the Michigan Department of Lifelong Education Advancement and Potential, called MI LEAP, which, if you read what it is, it's talking a lot more about early childhood education and then more college education and maybe some other crossovers. We already have a Michigan Department of Education, which is in charge of pretty much this whole entire thing. And I'm just wondering about having a parallel organization that does essentially the same thing. And I think it's going to get challenged in the courts. There's already been, I think the Michigan Department of Education has already asked the Attorney General to look into this to see if it's constitutional or not. It's a real hard read to see if it is or not, but it's just interesting that we've got a parallel Michigan Department of Education they're trying to get spun up. I don't know what's going to come out of that. My prediction is that it's going to not be a thing 1 year from now. We'll see how wrong I am about that.
We'll talk about that next year at this time.
Yep. We'll see. So what's your prediction? We'd love to hear from you to tell us how terribly wrong we are. Or you might be thinking about, those guys are onto something. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at edtech@kentisd.org. And we read every single email that you send us. So we'd love to get a little message from you. And if it's good enough for us, we'll talk about it on the next show. Sarah?
Well, thank you. So what I'm hearing you say here, Ron, is we really want to hear from our viewers, or our listeners, I should say, because we want to share your thoughts with others. And that's it for this episode of For the Purpose Of, and we thank you for tuning in. And if you like this podcast, we'd love for you to share it with a friend and encourage others to enjoy the dialogue.
Yeah, and aside from your predictions for the year, we'd also love to hear a little bit about where you would love to go in the world. We're looking for travel plans in the future, and we always welcome your feedback. You can reach out to find all things EdTech at bit.ly/IamEdTech. It's just updated with a bunch of the things we're planning on for this year.
This podcast is a service of Kent Intermediate School District, produced by Ron Houtman, Sarah Wood, and Keith Tramper, and edited by Keith Tramper. Our theme music is Neon Nights by Scott Holmes Music, and our ad music is Vienna Beat by Blue Dot Sessions. Ticonderoga pencils! Scotch tape! We got both kind! One-sided and double-sided! Double-sided! Be there! Be there! US 130, Martin, Michigan!
From C, save!
Oh, yeah. I put that
Yes!
Save!